Welcome, Sojourners. You have found yourself a cozy place at Sojourners Awake. I'm Jonathan, and this is our production of The Bookish and the Brave. Like you, the Sojourners are on a mission and face conflict, sometimes even danger. Nothing good comes from this world while darkness reigns, and in this production, the Sojourners most recently spent a year's study at Baldtop Library. As a dungeon master, I afforded the players various knowledge points in which they could learn bonus proficiencies, feats, cantrips, and even spells outside of their class. The Sojourners, along with encountering various wonderful people, places, and discoveries at Baldtop, learned that, along with being a bookit, comes a certain amount of danger with the job. And so for now, our story continues.
Ocean lit up the revolution. The Elithri elves had either resigned with age or moved far away in their time of youth. The former contributed no success to the noble houses in the city, and the latter deemed the enterprise not worthy of an investment. As a result, the noble houses began to lose their security and notoriety within the city walls, and the wide gap between nobility and commoner became a breeding ground for hate and violence. And of course, crime lords seeking to supplant the noble houses had no problem fueling the discontent of the working people into an outright raging revolution. One by one, the governing houses began to crumble with riots and public execution. After 80 years of surmounting pressures placed on the working class, the streets ran red with noble blood. Crime lords such as Lord Basile managed to weasel into a safe place by having one hand in the smuggling rings so common within this city. Smuggling rings. What once was a bane of taxation now arrived as an ironic salvation to the noble class, as families reportedly were provided exile. The Sojourners, such as von Henrik von Stiepelbottom, the last heir to the state, now found himself impoverished regarding his title. For his home, divided up, existed nearly in every pocket within Boshen. Interestingly enough, Von had already invested some relationships within the Order of the Clover Blade, which ultimately secured his ticket to Baldtop Library. Now he and two others, Hawkins Idlehands and Sterling Stargazer, traveled under the protection of Halal and his brother Halef. As Halal said, "I only aim to give you the means to enter. Whether you arrive is up to you, and of course my brother." And as Halef said, "To be honest, I don't mind if you leave or go your own way. Your own path belongs to you." With such a cold welcome from the wilds, the greeting at Baldtop Library became all that much warmer in contrast. Folks like Kalan, the gatekeeper, and Irony, the attendant, welcomed them with open arms to receive their books as well as their employment as the bookends. Founded in 1370, 116 years ago, the bookends were established to protect Baldtop from corruption, theft, and anything that would seek to dissolve its ability to preserve truth. And now, 3 new recruits begin their training over a year's time within this castle of books, the spire of the Mavi Ocean, the harbor of knowledge. They are the Bookish and the Brave. Vaughn, during this time we find you busy about surprisingly a mundane chore. A mundane chore that you have been provided here in Bald Top Library. And as we view you from above, moving down through the Court of Air, for you have yet to enter into the Emerald Court. Still cloistered outside in the Court of Air, living in your room, how do we find you performing this mundane task?
Vaughn has been very focused on training, but when it comes to the day-to-day and the non-training times, what he's really found he enjoys is manual labor. So he was never allowed to do that as part of a upper-class family, and so he's made friends with one of the guys in the iron working shop, and so he moves ore and heavy equipment around town, just kind of as a messenger, just moves it around the library, things that need to be here and there, bookshelves that are built, whatever it is, he's really found some pleasure in that physical activity, and he's finding that the side benefit is that he's becoming stronger. And so his fitness was already good, but now he's adding a little extra strength to that fitness, and he's liking the results, but he's also enjoying the kind of brainless activity.
A couple of the dwarves working side by side with you in the ironworks, their shirts bare, bodies covered in soot. Their eyes gleam at you in the dark of the forge, and as they toss the ore with their bare hands, you alongside with them, they chant on, "Oh ho, Vaughn, who weighs a ton, his soft hands gone away." And they slap you on the back, welcoming you into the brotherhood of the ironworks, balancing the calloused hands with your muscles now rippling, sweat gleaming down your skin. The forge is bellowing, receiving your offering of ore. As you're in this area, you're studying and paying attention to this wonderful forge, the dwarven brothers of the Ironwork clan, laughing and singing as this, "You're a very fit human man. Has anyone ever told you that?"
I've been told once or twice.
Taking on a little bit of the dwarven dialect. Phineas, the older brother, moves the ore back and forth, and during a small break, the whistle blows. He says, "What about the others? They don't join you down here, I reckon? What do they find in their hands to do, and how are they doing here in Bald Top?"
Well, as you know, Phineas, we are all on a journey, and we each have our trainings and our learnings, studying to do, but I have found my pleasures to join you and to do this physical work. I was not allowed to do much of this in my former life, and I've really enjoyed getting dirty with you and learning those songs.
You weren't allowed to do it, or you didn't have it available. I reckon you were either of wealthy blood or cloistered up in a tower. Probably kept by a hag or something like that, right? They jeer and rib each other, and one slams you in the back of the ribs with a big fist.
Vaughn turns around and punches him back, and it hurts because he knows where to punch.
Oh. Younger dwarf begins wheezing a little bit. I didn't know I had that organ inside me.
Well, you don't anymore.
They begin erupting in laughter. And then Phineas looks at you sincerely. He puts out his cigar a little bit, blows a puff of smoke, says, "No, really. You're a different breed."
Phineas, I'm a man of the people. And as my journey continues, I realize that being with people, working alongside them, joining in effort, is what brings me the most pleasure and most fulfillment in life. And you allowing me to first just move heavy things for you, and now participate in the ironworks has been very fulfilling for me. Thank you.
Don't thank me. You'll be thinking yourself, and really, it's not the problem of work, but it's the benefit of it. I'll admit, when we first saw you, we all had bets, and every single one of us lost. Except Wangus over there. Of course, that's because he's blind and he can't see how incredibly soft your body was. How
I don't
smooth.
think I was that soft. Maybe smooth.
Yeah, your smooth skin. And to be quite honest, not many human men can keep up with us. It takes a high level of constitution, physical stamina. But, no, I think you did. I think I'm right. You are a rare breed. Something special about you. It's not that you're just a man of the people. I mean, everyone says that. I think you got a... it's a word in Dwarvish. Konslinkran. It means the grit in your belly that digests the food that you took too big of a bite. Young dwarves taking too big of a bite in their belly. That Konslinkran. It grinds it up. Makes it compatible. You know, everyone thinking us dwarves, we can eat anything we want. But if it wasn't for that little bitty grain, that sand in our belly, we would bloat out and just pop like pimples on a forehead. You have that.
Thank you. Thank you.
The whistle blows. Everyone instinctively gets into their positions of launching the oar, and in synchronous, harmonious motion, handed from one dwarven hand to one dwarven hand to your hands, the oar moves in this fireman's brigade all the way into the forge without using tools except your very own body. You successfully power Bald Top Library. And as we move on, later on that week, Hawkins, Idle Hands, you were busy about a mundane task here in Bald Top Library. What do we find you doing?
Hawkins has fallen in with the people in sort of the mechanics shop, spending time, as much time as he can experimenting with things, but he's also given the work to just do maintenance on various devices and traps and security things. So he, on this particular day, he's just restocking. He's, carrying some common supplies, some gears and cogs of different sizes, some cans of oil from one place to another, to the various supply sheds, supply outlets throughout the library.
And as you're in the Helping Hands workshop, the smell of grease and oil greets your nostrils. Flicks and flakes of metal go sparking and litter the ground. Chemical spill, completely messed up, not having been cleansed in quite a while. And out from under the hood, you hear, dadgummit, oh, and he curses and screams, this small henfolk man. He begins yelling. He says, Hawkins, if you're there, hey, Hawkins, are you there? I'm pinched. I can't get out. And you see the little the henfolk legs just dangling under this hood and apparently caught in some kind of rivet or gear.
Just a minute now. Hawkins sets down his load and hurries over.
Oh, no, don't do it like that. You're gonna have to remove the cog. I think I'm real stuck. Old man Whiskers begins crying out a little bit of pain. You notice as the oil drips from the machine, a little bit of blood begins to mix with that oil and leak out onto the ground near your foot.
Hawkins finds a big metal bar and uses it to lever up the whatever he's stuck in, sort of prise him out.
All right, give me a sleight of hand check.
Ooh, okay. 19.
19 is enough. He begins to squeal. Oh no! And you pull that lever out and pop out. Old man Whiskers, this old wiry henfolk man, tumbles on the ground and the gear goes spinning out as well. The gear lands clattering down at your feet.
What did I tell you about climbing in there all by yourself.
Lalana, she said she was here, and I thought for sure you'd be back, but she hadn't gotten back, and I knew you'd be here pretty soon. I guess I could have just waited, 3 minutes? Oh, my arm.
And you see that his elbow's torn a little bit on the side. His flesh just missing a little bit of piece. And he says, well, I guess we have to donate that to science.
Let's get you off to the infirmary.
Oh, no, please. We'll just rig this together. Come on, give me one of those sashes, and we'll just, I'll put a little metal splint, and we'll be just fine.
All right, well, when your arm falls off, don't come complaining to me.
Have you ever heard me complaining?
And then Leilana, the young hinfolk woman with an eye patch, walks over and says,
he ain't never complained about a thing. Don't worry about it. Give me that gear.
and she lifts the gear up, puts it inside, and begins cranking and says, it works if you use the right tools. Hawkins, as you're around this very familiar Helping Hands workshop, there's a couple things that you've been working on, little side projects that Bald Top has afforded you a license to work on. What would they be?
Hawkins is always interested in making small improvements to his sort of pet lion toy. So he doesn't have any particular projects with that right now, but he's sort of spending time researching what he might be able to do in the future. He's gotten to get into some metalworking, like reshaping metal, and has some designs. He's sort of in the prototyping phase now for making arrowheads for his bolt tips, I guess, that can have different effects, and specifically he's looking at how to make them whistle.
You hear a large whistle out as Old Man Whiskers slaps you on the back and says,
ooh, well, man, those look pretty nice. Pretty nice. Hey, Leilana's got something really nice cooked up for some good hinfolk food. You in?
You know how it does on my stomach. I can't hardly handle that stuff.
I didn't put any spice or any salt. Don't worry about it, Hawkins.
All right, I'll give it a try.
Outside the garage, there's a large open garden area where the scent of orange blossom carries down the way. The metal lion that your parents had given to you is turned over on its side and been worked upon with some of the gears missing. And Leilana and Old Man Whiskers are kicked back with their feet up in the air, smoking corncob pipes, enjoying their job at Bald Top. Old Man Whiskers sits up and looks at you and says,
you know something I ain't figured out, Hawkins? I mean, you could have worked anywhere. You could have done any kind of job. What brought you to work at Helping Hands? I mean, I enjoy what we do, but pretty much all we do is just fix things, and it's supposed to be working on new tech, but I mean, you know how that is. They put a stop to all that. Well, there's hundreds of machines down there that are busy needed working upon that we haven't gotten licensed to do. I mean, do you think your hands have gotten idle?
always pulling the jokes. This kind of work is good for you. Like I've told you, you still don't believe me, but I'll tell you again. I've spent most of my adult life just making arrows. It's not impressive work, but it's needful. That's kind of what I'm used to. I get to experiment on the side a little bit, but I'm enjoying myself.
Leilana speaks up.
Them's hunting arrows?
Well, some of them we'll put some of the tips on vertical to go between the ribs of animals, and we'll put some of them on horizontal to go between the ribs of upright things.
Oh, like humans? They try to sneak in and steal the books, huh?
Well, like humans, yeah.
Yeah, Bald Top doesn't like it when you steal their proprietary information. No, they don't. They kill you in a heartbeat. I've seen it.
Yeah, some of those traps look pretty gnarly.
Oh, yeah, that Glyph of Warden, that's a 9th level, man. You touch that thing, you'll just blown out into smithereens. Your mama won't even know what happened to you. Well, anyway, I ain't trying to scare you away, Hawkins. He looks at Leilani. We've enjoyed having you here. I mean, you know, I'm pretty sure you like hanging out with us and everything because you still do. And we hadn't scared you off just yet. I mean, we're not like, he says it in a hushed tone, we ain't like the uppity here at Bald Top. Just, it's a good job, and to be quite honest, we needed a duck and cover for a while, and pretty sure that, whoever was looking for us is long gone dead by now.
Yeah, I can't fault you for finding good work, and this certainly is good work.
Well, yeah, you speak for yourself. You're doing a pretty good job. You're making us look bad, that's for sure. Yeah, he is.
Well, you only have me for a couple more months, I think. I'm not really sure what's going to happen.
What are you talking about? Where are you going?
Well, surely you knew. I'm going to be a bookend.
What in the tarnation is a bookend?
Well, I guess you've seen some folks walk around in them indigo robes.
Oh yeah, man, yeah, I've seen them.
I guess that's what I'm going to get in
Their
just a couple more months.
Their faces go white. Leilani sits up and she opens her eye patch, and you see now that she actually has a good working eye underneath. And she speaks up and says, Hawkins, you're going to be a bookend?
That's what they told me. That's why I'm here, I guess.
That's a sordid shame, because them bookends don't last but a month. They get killed quick.
What are you talking about?
Well, the turnover rate is terrible. Ain't nobody told you that yet? The hazards that come with that job, ain't nobody. They've had 13 bookends in 12 months.
Well, I got a couple friends who will be joining at the same time as me, and let me tell you this. You don't need to worry about me, because those two guys take good care of me. I've been training with them. I think we're going to get on just fine.
Hey, I ain't playing, Hawkins. Them bookings job is difficult. They put them right in the front lines and everything, like they's wanting to get rid of them.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put all these contraptions that I'm working on, they're going to be in the front lines. I'll see if I can stay back and just take some shots when needed.
Yeah, Leilana and Old Man Whiskers have taken quite a liking to you, and he sits up quick and says, put that stew up. We got work to do. We got to make Hawkins a little more durable. You got that breastplate or something? We got to protect his vital organs. Keep him alive for a little bit longer if he's going to be a bookend.
I don't need anything from you guys. You are providing plenty for me. You're helping me keep my sanity through the day. I only work with you a few hours each day. The rest of the time is just training all day long.
Mm-hmm. He's got his nose in those books, his big old gnomish nose. She grabs it and wiggles you a little bit. As you get back to work, you finish up your job. Where do we find you wrapping up the rest of your day before heading off to your studies?
Hawkins will sneak in a few minutes. He's come across a small supply of some strange metal that interacts with electricity in a weird way. And he's kind of just experimenting with it at this point, trying to figure out what it's going to do. It seems to pull electricity into it and keep it for a while, kind of like a battery, but a little different.
Sterling Stargazer. During some time that week, that month, during the day or the night, you have been accomplishing a simple mundane task, part of your routine chores here at Bald Top, while still not allowed beyond the green door into the library. You have made quite a living for yourself here in the Court of Air. And how do we find you at this time?
So Sterling's been checking out the vegetation of the outer courts and just kind of finding out what grows. Studying that and doing his herbalism is still very close to him. And what he does find is some nightshade, some like slight poison. And what he's doing is he's practicing casting spells on his staff while chewing the nightshade and seeing if it knocks his concentration off so that he can stay kind of focused on casting spells and taking damage. You noticed that he took a lot of damage in the last couple fights, and he wasn't able to do as much. So that's been playing on his mind. And he's also always looking out for djinns and guards and things of that kind. So he's constantly, what he does is he looks at something, closes his eyes, and then remembers that scene exactly, and who's there, what they're thinking about, what their facial expressions are, and then he's kind of digging into that with his star map and kind of thinking, okay, what's that person feeling? What's that person thinking? How are they reacting to their task at hand? So he's very much perceptive about the world around him, as well as internal.
As you're sitting in the garden, just concentrating, opening and closing your eyes, you hear a very familiar feminine laugh. Sterling, what are you doing?
And he'll just spit out that bit that he was chewing on. Training?
You see Sylvia in her green robes, the beautiful elven woman. She says, I have been just drenched with lectures and studies, and here I find you playing a game of spittoon with herbs and plants. What sort? I've never seen this sort of learning before. Is it a hands-on technique? Please, you must enlighten such a wonderful master as myself.
Oh yeah, I've tried to listen to a few of your lessons. They've been very good. I thank you. I'm just working on this, that, and the other. Just looking at the people and trying to get to know them a little bit. Just kind of figure out what they're thinking about.
Knowing that Sylvia teaches primarily on other planes of existence, what would you remember from her lectures? And she presses you, saying, really, you've been attending my lectures. Come along, scholar. Tell me, what have you learned?
When I first got here, I was very intrigued with the statues of Tiamat and the things that were fighting it. And then I heard that those adventurers went into another plane of existence, and you were telling the story of when they did that to go and save Bonzarel. And I love a good story. I mean, and so so you were talking of Avernus. That place does not sound nice.
No, not nice at all. I spent hours describing it, and you concluded it with such a crystallized word. Not nice. I couldn't have said it better myself. But seriously, how are you doing? I wonder how you are coming along here at Baldtop.
A day at a time. I'm still waiting to hear what this bookends deal is. It's been a long journey. I'm getting to know everyone. I've made some good friends, just getting along nicely. It's good to be here.
Yes, the bookends. It's a hazardous job, having taken some sweet affection to you as an elf to a human man. She stands tall over you and says, I'll see what I can do. And I don't mean to frighten you, Sterling. Have you ever been in any sort of combat before, where your life was on the line?
Oh yeah, I died.
Sterling, I cannot tell when you are being serious or when you are joking. Please help me understand. Help my elven eyes see what you are seeing.
Okay, so right here I was in this shop, right? And these two wizards came in and then just boom, boom, hit me. And I was in pain. I was on the ground. It went dark. And then all I remember was this big diamond and this creepy voice. And then all of a sudden I woke up outside the town in this big pile of mud. That was the first fight I got into. The second one, this wolf was really just chewing on me. And Hawkins almost died. And we managed to fight that one. That one worked out better. I didn't die in that one.
You have led quite a eventful life for such a young person.
No, just in this last year.
Well, I do believe that when you take your vow as a bookend, and I speak to you as a friend, not as a master, and we're not really supposed to talk much about it, but the bookends is a very dangerous job and quite often placed in very precarious situations to defend all the knowledge, wisdom, and in the name of defending truth, if you believe that.
Well, if I'll be defending you, it'll be worth it.
She begins to sing in Elvish, impulsively, throws her head back, and this song in Elvish, and she claps her hands together, and you nearly see her lift off the ground like a fairy. Sterling Stargazer, among anyone in Baldtop have I never met someone with such eloquence, grace, that I've never seen before in Bansara. Truly, you must be from another world.
You should try looking in the mirror, ma'am.
Flattered intently, this elf has indeed adopted you for all intents and purposes. She takes a special interest in your diet, in your physical health, in your well-being, in your education, quite literally taking you on as a teacher's pet. You spend hours and hours studying with her. She offers private tutoring, and as an elf to a mortal person, she offers you the finest teachings in all the elven ways. And throughout your time with Sylvia, she speaks cryptically of darker forces, and not everything is as it seems. Be careful who you trust, Sterling, she says one time. Although everyone says they have good intentions, very few can come through on that promise. Do you know what the word naivety means, Sterling?
I thought I did.
She sighs a little bit and looks outside as the sunlight's coming in as you've been studying a night, and she says, "Silly me. Now is not the time for dismal words. It is sunrise. You should go have breakfast with your friends. It'll be very soon before you're inducted."
Okay, thank you.
She sees you far off, and Vaughn, Hawkins, and Sterling, you're all gathering in a very crowded area in the library. There's a small buffet that's been spread out for quite a few of the graduating witness students. As you're witnessing this graduation, there's a wonderful breakfast spread right in one of these book study areas, not in the main dining hall. You're able to sample some foods, and as you sample various tarts and pastries and breakfast items, you find that there's a nice small little chair area with chairs that you can rest yourselves upon. You gather together, having not seen each other for a couple days. Is there anything different about your appearance that you would notice? And then feel free to comment on those various differences. Vaughn.
Vaughn is, you guys have seen it happening gradually, but you can definitely see that he's a little bit more physically defined. He's put a little muscle on. He's a little rougher around the edges. Some of the refined personality that he still hung on to or was still attached to him from his upbringing has left, and he's a little bit more, little bolder, little more harsh, little less reserved, as he was both as a nobleman and as a monk. And so you can definitely, you guys know that he's been working in the iron shop with the dwarves, and you can see how that's worn off on him, and he even every once in a while slips into their tone and their style of communicating. And so he's changing like that for sure.
Hawkins.
All right, so this is kind of a big thing. Probably about a month before this, Hawkins was working in the Helping Hands shop and got a huge electrical shock in his left hand that almost left the nerves dead. So they rushed him to the infirmary, and they're like, "We can't really do anything here." So they rushed him over to the experimentation lab, and they hooked up some circuitry and put it in his wrist. So he's slightly bionic. And so in his left wrist, there's something that basically lets his hand, there's some circuitry that basically lets his hand continue to work as normal, nothing special or extra about it. But he has some exposed, I guess, kind of like a port, an electrical port, which will come into play in a lot of things. But he has learned in the last month or so, after recovering from this surgery to implant it, he's learned to use that to deliver shocking grasp as a cantrip. So that's what you see. There's a little bit more to it, but he's been working with that. He's been training with that, integrating that into his physical training. And you also see him as he's sitting in the chair as you guys walk up. He's kind of talking to himself, and you hear that he's speaking Sylvan. He's practicing his Sylvan, very much as a reaction to the encounter with Trina. He has taken it upon himself to learn the language she spoke.
Very cool. And Sterling.
So when he's got his face in a book, but as always, his big, wide-eyed, youthful face is looking even more kind of glowy after the good diet from the elf, Sylvia, and his working on his constitution, making himself more healthy. He was kind of big before. He's still big, but he's a little leaner. He looks a little bit more coming of age. Every so often, as he's got his face in a book, he'll reach over for his fork and accidentally touch Hawkins' left hand and kind of get a bit of a zap every so often, but he kind of likes it because it's helping him work on his constitution as well. But he hasn't really changed that much. He's more outgoing. He's more himself now, whereas before it was kind of like unsure.
You all greet each other as you have about 5 minutes before the witnesses take their stand in graduation.
Sterling, how are you? Why do you keep touching Hawkins like that, man? Don't you know that hand has been surgically repaired? And how are you feeling, Hawkins?
It's better than coffee, I tell you. It wakes you right up. Like, you can't help it. But well, talking of hands, Vaughn, what were you doing? Were you digging in the dirt?
Something like that.
Yeah,
You know where I've been. I've been working with the dwarfs.
Yeah, trying to make yourself taller, weren't you?
Well, maybe not taller. I'm not ever going to catch up to you, I don't think. I think I might be done growing taller, but look at this. And he flexes, and you see that his muscles are a little bit bigger.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, I've got this big arm, but that's more refined. That's good. Yeah.
I think yours might be considered fluff, Sterling.
Oh, well, yeah. It's, if you've got any other robotics or anything to put in here, make it a little stronger, I wouldn't mind,
I might be able to come up with something to help you with resistance training or something, but I'm not gonna. I don't know about boosting anything.
If you want resistance training, you should come spend one day with me and the dwarves. That'll get you going.
No, I like the outside too much. It's a little too smoky in there. And those guys, they do like those cigars. That's so bad for you.
A couple of pieces of news come to your mind as you share with your sojourners.
Have you guys heard anything about the bookends being kind of dangerous? I told my friends, and they got real scared for me.
Yeah, I've heard some hints at that. It's a higher calling. I know that they've gone through a few of them as well. Hey, just between us, I've been kind of told to be careful who we trust as a bookend. So, I'm very trustworthy. I like everybody, that. So if you could look out for my back, I might not always understand. So, I'd appreciate that.
I haven't spoken to Phineas or his brother about it yet, but I do know that when I train with Sigurd, he seems to be pretty intentional about where I'm going and what I'm doing, and he's very hard on me. making sure that I complete all of my sword practice and bow practice, and he's harder on me than he is some of the other monks that are working out around us. And so I think in his very quiet way, he's telling me that I better be prepared for something a little bit more, but I haven't heard it directly from anyone.
As the witnesses gather on stage, Skull the Bookworm, dragonborn man in a orange robe, begins to say, Bold Top was built to protect knowledge, information, and ultimately truth. Today we induct into our wonderful society the witnesses that you see before you here, having taken the oath to protect everything, keeping it crystal clear in its purity. I welcome you now, the witnesses for this year's class. Everyone begins to erupt and graduate, and you all see that you're socializing. You see a couple of the witnesses, irony, exchanging handshakes and welcoming everyone. As is customary with a couple of the parties, is to present some sort of gift. And the three of you have chimed in and purchased some kind of gift for the witnesses. And what would that be as you present it to them? A group of wide-eyed, innocent minds thirsty for knowledge.
So Sterling actually found some of the rarer like wildlife and plant life around Boltop, and has actually made a bouquet. And he's like, oh, and this is this, and this is this, and hey, yeah, and I put it all together, and it's wrapped up nice and neat as well.
The student gratefully accepts on behalf of yourselves as the bookends in training and the witnesses, and he says, looking at all three of you, I have seen omens that suggest a prophecy is being fulfilled as we speak. This is the place I wanted to be. This is the place I wanted to truly confirm my suspicions. He looks at the flowers and say, everything means something. Sterling, Hawkins, Vaughn, thank you so much for being here at our graduation. Thank you, especially for your protection of all things knowledge, wisdom, and truth. What it is to be a bookend in training. I'm certain you will see great things.
We look forward to working with you and protecting you going forward.
Vaughn, you are training that day. Hawkins and Sterling, you're sitting relaxing with a book or some kind of tome and scroll, information base in your lap. As Vaughn is getting thrown around, Sigurd throws back his blonde hair and says, no, you have to hit me again. Vaughn, you're doing you missed, come on. And he swirls you around and puts you in a chokehold and says, you're going to have to do better than that, my friend. As you're in the chokehold, he holds you there. What do you have to say for yourself?
Sigurd, I'm trying to...
Haven't you heard? There is no try. And he puts you down in a very painful arm bending back, your neck exposed. He said, I could snap you just right now. You got to do something about it. Show me what you got.
Vaughn does a very interesting jump to kind of like untwist his body, but not by untwisting his arm, which is securely in Sigurd's hands, but he kind of does a flip so that his arm is untwisted.
Make your acrobatics check, please.
24.
All right, Hawkins and Sterling, you see him effortlessly move to the side, and you have a chance to react to it with each other.
Oh, have you ever seen him move like that before?
That was a little bit. It kind of reminds me of when he was coming through the forest.
Oh yeah,
when we were being attacked. Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty fast. I wonder if the dwarves taught him that.
Where'd you go, man? And Sigurd looks around, and you're clearly behind him at this moment. You have a chance.
Well, Vaughn has already slapped him on the butt in a very aggressive way. And when he does that, Sigurd realizes that he can't move away. Like he tries to walk away from him, and he can't. So he turns around, and he's just kind of like stunned. His legs are a little wobbly, and he's just not quite sure what happened. But Vaughn, in that quick transaction, did a flip, landed behind Sigurd, and then what ended up being mechanically an attack of opportunity to hold him in place. And of course, it was a non-lethal intention, so he just gave him a good slap on the backside. And then Vaughn said, "See, you have taught me some things."
Yeah, I've taught you how to be amazing, of course. And then he concludes the lesson, and everyone gets ready for the showers and getting cleaned up. And while you're doing that, Hawkins and Sterling, you make a discovery. If you would each roll, let's see. Sterling, you roll a d6, and Hawkins, you roll a d8. A 6 for Sterling.
1 for Hawkins.
A 1 for Hawkins. Hawkins, you discover an ancient recipe. Sterling, you discover the inner workings of the Mythal Shield. This is the most powerful anti-magic dome that has been placed safely over Bald Top, giving it its name, of course, the Bald Top of the Dome. It protects it from dragonfire, it protects it from scrying, it protects it from teleportation, it protects it from attack. At any time it can be activated, but no one really knows exactly what the code or the password is or who has the key. Vaughn, as you're walking up, you see Hawkins going through this recipe.
What is that, my friend?
That's some old text I found. There's a list of ingredients, and I'm kind of having trouble reading some of the instructions, but it looks like it's a recipe for some kind of chocolate sauce, but it doesn't sound very sweet. It must have been from a long time ago.
I wonder if Sterling can find the ingredients for us.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Someone say sweets.
Well, I said it's not very sweet. Here, see if you can recognize any of these things. This one kind of looks like cocoa, cacao, something like that.
Cacao. That sounds like a bird.
You better not show Sylvia this recipe if you think it's sweet. You're going to be in trouble.
Oh, she takes such good care of me.
Sterling, your book is open to a very large blueprint of the Mythal Shield.
Hey guys, actually, while you're looking at that recipe, I found something. You see this? This is what's really protecting Bald Top. This Mythal Shield, it's amazing. It stops people from looking in. It stops the dragons from fire. It's really quite wonderful, but it says there's quite a mystery behind it. They don't know quite how it works or how to unlock it, and so if someone bad knew that, then we'd be in trouble.
Is it a magical thing or mechanical?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, it's got blueprints, so there's got to be some mechanical, but it's got some magical element too to stop magic, obviously.
Wonder if there's some iron work in the foundation of this thing. I could ask the dwarfs.
They do know how to build stuff.
I don't know much about the magic part, but I have been learning from them about how to work with the metals.
Anybody say metals? Huh? You want a gold medal for that mediocre performance, huh, Vaughn?
Well, I think I slapped you pretty good there, my friend. I don't think it was mediocre.
Nah, it was actually that part was very good. Okay, hey, Hawkins, Sterling, you're not immune. I'm not gonna push you so hard as Vaughn, but we need to practice on your balance and everything. So let's head over to the balancing beams, okay? Vaughn, you want to help him out or what?
Yes, this would be great.
All right.
He smiles at both of you guys.
Vaughn, you take it. Sigurd, just impressed with your initiative, says, "Hey, I'm going to take a look at this Mythal Shield or something. A recipe for a chocolate sauce. I'll just let you guys do it, okay? I'll kick back. All right, what do I see now?"
Okay, Hawkins, Sterling. Try to make me look good. The boss is right over there. So, first thing we're going to need to be able to do is move around to the library very fast. It might be hard for your short legs, but we're going to move as quickly as we can. And obviously the fastest way between point A and B is in a straight line. So, with that said, and Vaughn's going to hop up on the balance beam, and he's going to just go for it. He's just going to run across, and assuming that he keeps his balance really well, he'll do a flip off the end and land on his feet.
Well done.
Now your turn, Sterling.
Oh, if only this was underwater. Oh, okay. And he just kind of pulls up, like a guy trying to get on a horse who just can't quite get up there. He's like trying to pull himself up and kicking his legs, and he's not dexterous at all or strong. But he gets up there, and he's kind of on his knees and his hands, and he's like trying to, go across one at a time, and it's making sure that no one's trying to give him any false encouragement.
You're going to have to do better than that, Sterling.
Hawkins climbs up and starts to try to run across and gets a little bit wobbly, and then kind of recovers his balance. And when he gets to the end, he's like thinking about, and for the last several steps, he's thinking about, okay, now how do I do a flip off of this? And basically gets to the end and hasn't decided what he's going to do yet. So he comes to a screeching halt right at the end of the beam.
I think you're supposed to do a flip or something, but at least you ran faster than the baby crawling on the floor.
Do you need me to help you down, Hawkins? I know it's a long way.
No. Hawkins pops down and lands only slightly gracefully.
All right, well, very good. Vaughn, take him to weapons training, okay? Let's see them defend themselves. I want to see parries. I want to see defense. I want to see dodge. I want to see strikes. Show them the whole thing, okay?
Yes, I will. Let's go, fellas. So now that we're here, let everybody take out a melee weapon. Now let me show you how this works. Try to hit me, Sterling.
So with his quarterstaff, feel faint, like he's going to hit him with the right, and then come up with the left.
Make your attack against Vaughn's AC.
It's a 10.
So Vaughn dodges the attack, and with his bare hands slaps you on the butt. You got to be quicker than that to hit me, Sterling. Hawkins?
Do I have to use a melee weapon?
You want to try to shoot me?
I'd prefer that. I mean, I know that's not really fair, but all right. He pulls out his short sword and just like there's no feint, there's no finesse. It's just he's just taking a swipe with the short sword.
Make your attack.
That is a 17.
17 matches. Oh, ow. Sterling, did you see that? That's what it looks like when you hit your opponent. Nice shot, Hawkins.
I'm sorry. And Hawkins comes over and he has this strange metal ring on his hand that you've seen him wearing a little bit, and he puts it on one side of the cut, just a little slice on your arm. He puts the ring on one side of the cut and holds up the power port to the other side and says shock and casts cure wounds on you. Can only happen once per day because it takes the ring a while to discharge, but he casts cure wounds on you.
Wow.
I'm sorry about that. I thought you would dodge.
Well, I wanted to, but I'm not sorry about that. What did you just do?
Oh, well, after Sterling was noting how it makes him feel better to get shocked, I thought I might be able to use that to make people feel a little bit better. At least, I mean, it didn't really heal your cut there, but I think it makes the pain go away for a little while at least.
I can barely feel it. And he looks at his arm, and it's just a scratch anyways, but it's not even bleeding anymore. So, wow, that was incredible.
And Sterling says, "Can you feel this?" and goes to dummy and attack Vaughn while he's not looking. And he gets a 17. All right. It's Vaughn head.
Vaughn takes the hit from the quarterstaff, but with his newfound reaction skills, he doesn't even look. He just backhands Sterling across the cheek. As he takes the blunt hit in the back of his head, his arm swings back and catches him on the cheek with a. No, it doesn't. He swings back and misses with a natural 1, and falls down.
Oh, okay, this is getting out of hand, okay? Like, I'm already jealous because you patted him on the butt. And, Vaughn, I can't see you lying on the floor like a loser.
He hit me in the back of the head. I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah, you did pretty good, okay, Sterling? The point of the story is, when times are tough and people want to come in and steal the books and whatnot, we got to be here to defend, okay? I know that's not your strong suit to be super strong like Vaughn and myself. Weapons may not be your suit. Sterling, I know you got some plants you play with or something like that. And Hawkins, I've seen you like shakta, all kinds of stuff and magic and whatever you gnomish people do. I trust you. And that's my point. This is my big spiel, okay? We protect. We don't ask questions. We get the job done. We're here when trouble comes, and when trouble comes, we meet it face on. No questions asked, okay? All right, this concludes our adventure and our little time here and our having fun. So we'll see you guys next week as you get inducted as the bookends, okay? All right, enjoy your book time.
Thank you.
Good night, Sigurd.
Yeah, all right, good night, whatever, man.
Every story comes to an ending, so for now we conclude. Thank you for listening, Sojourners. Your attention will not go unrewarded, and we look forward to continuing this adventure. If you enjoyed this background music and ambiance, you should check out Tabletop Audio. You can find them at www.tabletopaudio.com. Take the time to sojourn with us. For articles on playing Dungeons & Dragons, visit www.sojournersawake.com. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, Sojourner, may your story continue.